this story caught my attention yesterday, and I saw Glenn Greenwald, who is a great investigative reporter. It's funny because a lot of people don't know how to pin Glenn down, right? He's a leftist, by all accounts, but he is not afraid to go after the establishment. He is not afraid to go after, you might say, well, how is he a leftist, but he's going after Biden, or he's going after the Biden family. He's reporting on what's going on with Hunter Biden and this shady relationship with Ukraine. Like, what's happening here? Is he really a leftist, or is he? I had someone last night tweet at me and say, how can you follow Glenn Greenwald's reporting? He's a huge Trump supporter. What? Where do you get this stuff from? See, when you're a reporter and you're covering stories and you're trying to be objective and honest and not being bought and sold by big corporations, people don't know what to do with you. You are a black sheep. Like this show. This show is not run by corporate overlords. The only person that controls this show is me and Grover. But he's off eating right now. And so no, Rupert Murdoch, no Jeff Zucker, nobody tells me what to do on this show. And that's scary for some people. A lot of people like the convenience of wearing a mainstream media jacket, even if they're being lied to, because it's comfortable. People like fake news because it fits their own narrative, their own family's narrative. They don't want to hear the truth because it's uncomfortable. That's why you turn on your CNN. If you're a CNN fan, you turn that on because you want to hear them bashing Trump all day. You don't want to hear them talking poorly about Joe Biden. You don't want any of that. You just want to feel comfortable, right? It's like putting on your favorite soap opera because you don't want to be uncomfortable. But the only way we actually affect change in this country is through discomfort and growth. The only way you grow at all in life is through discomfort. You ever see those old people that there's two kinds of old people, right? There's old people that are just like old and decrepit and kind of lean over and they don't do anything and all they do is watch TV and they never travel and they're not growing at all. And then they end up sort of dying slowly. It's like a slow poison. Then you see these other old people who like travel the world. I see them all the time. Travel the world and they're vibrant and they're alive and they're experiencing different things and they've worked hard, but they're trapped. They're seeing their families. They're traveling around the world. They're thin, right? They're taking care of themselves because they want to enjoy this life. They're growing. They're seeking discomfort. They're trying to learn a new language, trying to learn how to use a computer, write code for the first time. They're challenging their brain, growing through discomfort. Most people want to be lied to by the mainstream media because it's comfortable. It's like a nice warm blanket to wrap yourself in. And so, Glenn Greenwald is one of those reporters who makes you uncomfortable in a good way because he challenges our sort of these blind assertions that we follow from mainstream media. He digs in where other people won't. He left The Guardian a number of years ago after threats basically that he was seeing from inside the U.S. government because of his sourcing with Edward Snowden. He left because he realized that he wasn't able to freely write about and do the types of journalism that he thought were important was important at the time. Going after the deep state, looking underneath those dark areas of the government that most people don't want to, or scared to, or their corporate overlords will tell them not to. They'll get a phone call. Don't cover this story. We're not covering that story. Don't do it. So Glenn Greenwald started his own internet company a few years ago called The Intercept. I thought it was a great website, great publication, doing investigative journalism, turning a critical eye back towards that deep state, looking at the mainstream media that's bought and sold by the government and billionaires on Wall Street, looking at how this two-party system is really a corrupt system. So he announced yesterday that he was resigning from The Intercept because of censorship. An article that he was writing that was critical of the Biden family. His editors basically whitewashed the article and wanted to remove key pieces of this story. And apparently this had been brewing for some time, according to Ryan Grimm, who was also there. This had been brewing for some time with his editorial staff. when he signed up with the Intercept, and its premise was that there was going to be no editorial control, that they would be able to write whatever they wanted, cover the stories that were important for the American people. Well, that didn't happen, so he quit. Some people called him a baby. Crying big old man, I saw on Twitter. This is a big, crybaby for leaving. Or he has integrity. And he felt that he needed to be transparent, and so he left. So now he's reporting on his own Substack, so you can subscribe to his reporting there. Anyway, Tucker Carlson had him on last night. And I want you to listen to what he says about this process and how this censorship that is now getting absolutely out of hand, keeping these voices from reaching you. And we saw this week on Twitter, Facebook, Google, in front of the Senate Banking Committee, having to answer tough questions about why are you censoring these stories on the Biden family? Why? Look, I'm a progressive. These stories should be out there for the American people to make an honest assessment of a candidate they're voting for. Hiding it because it helps the deep state, it helps the federal government and Wall Street get this person elected is incredibly, this is like authoritarian regime style stuff. Listen to Glenn Greenwald last night.
To critical scrutiny. And I am so embarrassed and angered that the media outlet that I created, along with two other excellent journalists, to do that, the only article it published about all of these documents that have emerged about Joe Biden, other than a column of mine where I denounced Facebook and Twitter for censoring it, was an article that made reference in passing to those documents very snidely and dismissively to say that no one should pay attention to it because it was Russian disinformation, and it cited a letter from John Brennan, James Clapper, Mike Hayden, and the rest of the goons from the CIA and the intelligence community asserting it. And that letter said, we have no evidence that Russia's involved in any of this. The Intercept omitted that phrase, simply cited that letter to try and encourage people to ignore this evidence on the grounds that Russia had manufactured it and that the evidence was fabricated, even though there's never been any evidence for that's been true. And everything since has disproven it, showing Russia was not involved in any of this. And nobody, certainly not even Joe Biden, disputes that these emails and other text messages are completely real and authentic.
So that's Glenn Greenwald. He went on to talk about the system. And you think about the CIA, the FBI, and this sort of deep state that has had it out for Donald Trump since the beginning. Now, again, I'm a progressive. But we should all care about the intelligence apparatus in the United States government and the military having it in for one political party or another to drive this narrative. Folks, this is why Biden is going to win. When you've got friends like that, when you've got friends like the CIA and the FBI, and you've got this apparatus behind you making this happen, that's how he wins. Make no mistake about it. Here he talks about this deep state problem.
This is the real story of the last 4 years of the Trump administration, which is that for a long time on the left, there was a healthy skepticism of the CIA.
Yes, there was.
There was a lot of anti-war activism in the Bush and Cheney years. That has all disappeared. And the reason it's disappeared is because the CIA, from the very first days of the Trump administration, even before he was inaugurated, devoted themselves to sabotaging the administration because Donald Trump questioned just a few of their pieties. And that can't be done in Washington. Whoever does that must be destroyed. And so the CIA and the deep state operatives became heroes of the liberal left, the people who support the Democratic Party. They're now in a full union with the neocons, the Bush Cheney operatives, the CIA, Silicon Valley, and Wall Street. That is the union of power, along with mainstream media outlets that are fully behind the Democratic Party, which is likely to at least take over one branch of government, if not all of them, in the coming election. And that is a very alarming proposition because they're authoritarian, they believe in censorship, and they believe in suppression of information that exposes them in any kind of a critical light.
You don't think this is true? I reported this yesterday. Think about Amazon has a contract with the CIA. Multi-million-dollar contract with the CIA. You won't read about it. You're not going to read about it in Jeff Bezos' Washington Post very much. Should we not be concerned? The richest man in America with one of the wealthiest companies in America that pays zero taxes, has a multi-million-dollar contract with the CIA for their back-end web infrastructure. I mean, think about the level of censorship that we've seen in this country. And this is supposed to be the land of the free, right? Freedom of speech. And so all of these people are saying, I saw someone yesterday say to me, yeah, if you don't like Twitter censoring, then just don't use it. No, that's not what this is about. Once Twitter becomes a publisher, once they start telling you what you can read, they become a publisher. Once they start fact checking, they become a publisher. You know, there's some things we were trying to do on Facebook for our team, and we couldn't publish it. Like, no, you're not allowed to publish that. Really? Okay, why? Well, we fact checked that. Yeah, you fact checked that? Turns out some of these fact checkers, they literally worked at MSNBC, CNN. They were members of the military. That's their fact checking team. Yeah, you're getting your information from Wikipedia, another billionaire-run corporation. Give me a break. You want truth? It's starting to dry up, folks. It really, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like when that woman asked that question this morning, Barbara asked that question about finding the fact that she has to ask that question about like, where can she get unbiased information about candidates that she wants to learn about? I mean, good luck finding that on Facebook. Good luck finding that on Twitter. Good luck finding that on MSNBC or CNN or any of the other major mainstream media networks. When you have all of this power consolidated at the top, telling you what to read, telling you what to think. So when I come on here and I tell you, think critically about Biden, think critically about Trump, think critically about these two parties that are totally corrupt and in cahoots with each other, one party system. Why do you think we never have a third party candidate that's really viable? Unless they're self-funded, like Ross Perot. Because they want to control all of it. The reason that Joe Biden's winning right now because, look, he wants to continue these foreign wars. He's fine. We're going to continue our footprint in the Middle East. We're going to build a base in Syria. Oh, that makes the military-industrial complex super happy. Folks, it all just comes down to money at the end of the day. It's all just money. The massive military-industrial complex that runs our country wants to make sure that these defense contracts are continued, billions of dollars funneling to those big companies like Boeing, et cetera, so that we continue these foreign wars. We can call it a war on terror, which never ends. So it's 19 years now we've had this war on terror. Continues. That's what we're up against. Money. It's all money. And they give out just a little bit of money to help the American people, just enough, so that there's not rioting in the streets, just enough. But as the whole thing starts to collapse, we're here. I mean, this is happening right before our eyes. So anyway, Glenn Greenwald is now publishing his own stuff over on his own Substack. We'll see where he lands next. But the fact that he was censored by the very publication that he started, because all of these New York limousine liberals wanted Biden to win, so he has to walk away from his own publication, and he is a lefty? That's how bad it's gotten. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. And thank you for supporting independent journalism. Thank you for supporting our show. I try to cover these stories that are uncomfortable. I'm a progressive. I believe in public education public college for all Americans. I believe in Medicare for all, a healthcare system that works for people. I believe that we shouldn't have student loan debt in this country, and that it's highway robbery what these universities are doing to our children's futures. I believe we should end all of these foreign wars and reinvest that money into American people and infrastructure and the environment. That's what I believe. But guess what? That's not terribly popular among the liberal the two-party system. But it's incredibly popular for hundreds of millions of Americans that care about these issues. But these candidates who care about those types of things get pushed out because we want to end wars. That's not popular with the military-industrial complex. President Trump he hasn't started any wars. Maybe that's why. I'm just throwing it out there. Think critically about this. He's been saber rattling, saying that he has not been saber rattling. He's been saying that he wants to bring everyone home. He's rubbed people the wrong way with this. Let me know your thoughts. And subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. And give us a thumbs up. Hit that like button. It really helps us in the YouTube algorithm when you do that. I really appreciate that.